Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. Genesis 32, verse 1 to 2. Mahanaim means a camp of angels. We are looking at two sides of angels: their ministry in us and how they are attracted in our lives. And from this episode here, the importance of these angels in these incidents is to prepare Jacob in meeting with his worst enemy. Because if you look at verse 3, Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. So why did these angels intercept Jacob before meeting with his own brother, whom he had taken what was believed to be his inheritance? God will always allow his angels to come in our lives when there is a very huge project that we are about to launch, but is of high risks. A situation whereby the stakes are too high, that any messing up, you are doomed. Jacob meeting with Esau, that is just like approaching your gallows. It's just like approaching your noose. And you know very well, it will resort to hanging. But he's at this point, with the commissioning of the angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord told him, where we looked at yesterday, told him, go back home. But the angel of the Lord did not prepare him to meet Esau. So that was a missing link in the journey of this gentleman called Jacob. So God will allow you to meet a legion of angels or a group of angels that they should become an army. They may not be seen with the physical eyes. Remember the case of Elisha, with his servant eyes opened, and he saw mountains surrounded with a chariot and horses of fire. So these angels have appeared. They are very, very important because the program he is launching is not a do or a die program. It's a dying program. It's a program of death. Because later you notice that Esau came with 400 men riding on camels. So he had an army. He had a strong army. And the point that I want us to understand and to take into account is that God allows the angels to flow into us, to flow into our spaces, when the project ahead of us is of high risks. The project ahead of us is a do or die, shaky point. Just try to imagine if there was no angelic interception and intervention for where he was going to meet with his brother Esau, maybe we do not know what might happen. Because it is after these angels he met with them and he called that place Mahanaim. That is when he sent ambassadors. That is when he sent a convoy, or he sent messengers to go to negotiate, for safe arrival with his brother Esau. And it was successful. I do not know, when you're about to do something like marriage, you want to enter into a marriage, or like that's why you find Rebecca and Isaac case, an angel was involved. A case like starting a ministry. These are a project of high sensitivity, that they pose the risk. They pose the risk of exterminating you. Do you remember Moses had been sent by God to go and deliver the people of God from Egypt? And on the way, God met him to kill him because he did not circumcise his own son. Well, because the mission he is going to launch is of high risks possible. So you cannot entertain any kind of slippery issues. You must be firm. You must be completely stable, because what you are going to face or what you are going to do is of high risk. And if you are not properly fortified by the greatness of God, that enemy may have ability or access or a means of bringing you down. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, how did Jacob invite Mahanaim, or the two camps of angels? How? If you look here, if you look at 32, look at the language of Genesis 32 verse 1. Jacob also went on his way. You know, I said also. So meaning there was also another person who went on his way. So we go back a little bit to understand what happened, so that he could be able to go his way as well. Is exactly what happened in Genesis chapter number 31. You can read verse 55. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. Now, Laban returned home and Jacob went his way. You get me? What did they do at the point of departure? Is where they raised an altar called Mizpah. Genesis 31 verse 49. It was also called Mizpah, because he said, may the Lord keep watch between you and me when we are away from each other, if you retreat and all that. What is that was called Mizpah? What was that was called Mizpah? It is recorded in verse 45. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. For you to experience this Mahanaim, you must have raised an altar of separation. A pillar, and called it Mizpah, a place of parting ways. Paul and Barnabas, Abraham and Lot, a place of parting ways. Because you cannot encounter a Joric movement when Laban has the ability to pursue you and catch up with you. This is only possible if between you and Laban, remember Laban is a witch, is a sorcerer, is an idol worshiper, is a diviner. You get me? Actually, they say that he had run through divination that is prospered because of Jacob. But when he pursued Jacob and arrived and caught up with him, Jacob raised a pillar, anointed it, and called Mizpah. Me calling it what? Let us part ways. Go back to Padan Aram. Let me go back home. They parted. Immediately after they separated, Jacob encountered two groups of angels.